Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Empire Total War with the Imperial Splendour mod. We're playing as Prussia. Last time around we had the Battle of Warsaw, where we defeated a Polish army numbering 7,000 men. Most of them, however, were armed citizenry, so it wasn't that difficult to actually defeat them. And since then, I think I've done one turn, I believe. I don't think there were more. What we noticed once taking over, of course, when taking over a capital province, there's always a very high resistance to the occupation. But this was even more than that. And I noticed because the cabinet of the Prussian government was actually stacked with gentlemen, all exhibiting traits. They gave minus, like this, harsh reputation, -1 happiness to lower classes. Every single one of them had it. So I think it stacked up to 8- or something like that. It was a lot. So just by changing out some ministers, moving around some people in government, I was able to reduce it to the point where now you can see there's actually no unhappiness due to people in government. There's actually the opposite, to have plus points for people in the government. So that took out a lot of it. Of course, it didn't take all of it, so we're probably still gonna see an uprising. Kind of interesting that normally you don't see that much unhappiness for the ruling class, but you definitely see it here. Or most of the time when I play these mods in Empire Napoleon, it's usually the lower classes that are revolting. But in this case, the unhappiness is much higher for the upper classes. So it actually says because people in government is 2 points, but that does not make why it's double as much. So it's clamor for reform. It's adding a lot more points to that. So 3 for the lower classes, while 13 for the Polish. Could be that there's nothing actually for. That's because there's no university there, right? So there's a university here. So I wonder. Do the Poles? I think the Poles actually start off with a better college than mine. We have a college. And they have a classical university. It's still just level 2 according to the Polish tech tree. Well, we have up to 5 for Prussia. Interesting. But that means there's gonna be a hell of a lot of unhappiness in my home region. So we definitely need that Pleasure Palace. And get that Opera House on the way. What else was there? Yes, I went ahead and I signed a load of trade agreements. You can see, I mean, how many do I have? We've got France, Georgia, Russia, Savoy, Austria, Denmark, Venice, Prussia, Genoa, Marathan Confederacy, Spain, Saxony, Hanover, the United States of America, Ottoman Empire, the Great Britannia, and Portugal. So tons of them. We can see every single major faction except Sweden we are trading with. And for the minor factions, there's still loads I can trade with, but they don't want to, like Mysore, the Mamluks, Durrani Empire, the Pope. I don't think the Pope wants to trade with me though. He's kind of unhappy with the fact that I'm running over one of the staunch Catholic nations, Poland. With all of that said, what we're going to do today is we're going to attack Vilnius. Now I thought, because they did not have any troops stationed there, that it would be an easy pushover, and I would just be able to auto-resolve it and get it done with. However, you can see that it's a very kind of slim chance, and Alexander is only in command of about 2,400 men, compared to an enemy comprising of 4,500 men. So there might be some difficulty in actually putting these guys down, or at least if we're not careful, they could certainly charge at a weaker spot in the line and try to break through and damage this army a lot. But I do think we do have a way better chance than the enemy, of course. With that said, let's go ahead and find the Battle of Vilnius and get this done with, shall we? We've got the town of Vilnius right ahead of us, where the enemy will spawn with 4,000 civilians, armed civilians. Not much to say about the setup. Cavalry on the flanks, infantry in the front, backed up by a grenadier unit in the back to shore up if the enemy were to just put everything at trying to break through. And yes, with that said, let's go ahead and start. I'm gonna start by moving up the 12 pounders, as we start in a pretty bad position to actually get shots off at the enemy. And then we're gonna march up the line. We're gonna get the dragoons up on the flank, and we're gonna get the hussars up on the high ground over there. The enemy has actually put themselves behind a stone wall here. We've got the mortars shelling them. It's not going too well. We managed to get one of them with shrapnel. And now we can see the enemy's formation. Most of it is over here. And then we have a few units over here. These could be isolated quite easy and broken down. A 12 pounder should probably be moved up to the hill, probably. Or it would be better to have it like up here to be able to spray down the enemy, but it would take quite a while to reform. But I guess we could do that. We will hold the line. I'll drag the cannon up there. And we'll reform the line around that. So we'll get all the infantry. Like so. And then the grenadiers to be moved over there. Comes another round of mortar shots. Exploding nowhere near the enemy. I'll target the unit in the back. Maybe they'll have an easier time actually hitting the enemy. We'll keep the cavalry kind of on the back slopes of the hill. I know someone asked, I think, if there was like a black hussar unit, but I don't think there is actually. I think this is the only Prussian hussar unit there is. Or at least I quickly kind of checked through the... I wonder if I dare try and charge one of these units down on its own. I don't think the cavalry units are strong enough in this mod to actually be able to get a 500 unit of armed citizenry. I'm gonna move the general, he's gonna follow up here. And it seems like the sun is shining a little bit better. The one thing about the campaign map I don't really get is why it's constantly twilight. It looks kind of odd that it's constantly twilight once you're on the campaign map. Getting these 12 pounders into position. The enemy would have done well to attack us before we have been able to set up. The mortars really, their shots land everywhere. Aiming for a unit in the center could probably be better than. Right now we hit there, and then we've hit 2 shots here. And then the only one who's really died of all those shots is 1 soldier. I'm not entirely sure if he died of that. It could just have been heat stroke. Well, not heat stroke. There's no... I mean, it's so foggy. But he could have died of anything, really. We're gonna see about giving them some... Can I get canister all the way up? Yes, I can. I'm gonna particularly target this area right here where we can fire shots straight up the side here. And then we'll have to advance and we'll have to advance and charge the guys behind the wall. Get them away from there. I think there's another round of mortar shots. Oh, now we actually got some people. I think that was canister though, flying through here. Or could it have been the mortar shot? It kind of looked like it was exploding somewhere over here, above these guys. I guess it was the canister shot going up through here. I guess what I could do is we'll tell the cannons to hold fire for now. And what we'll do is we'll make sure that we meet the enemy's line 1 for 1. And then we'll have the grenadiers charge this unit while the fusiliers march to attack. You know what? We'll make a single line, in fact. The grenadiers, they will charge this unit. These guys will shore up the flank of the grenadier. And then the rest of the units will advance to attack the enemy. And that is the plan. See, this... Was there another few shots? There they go. Oh, now we got a few people. The shrapnel killed 12 enemies in this unit. You know what? Let's hit them before they are able to get their bearing on their units. I've got the grenadiers ready to go anyways. Let's send our troops forward. Canister reach very far, but I don't want to risk shooting my own men. So we're going to switch to round shot. And I'm going to target the unit way in the back. Let's see, the enemy has yet to open fire upon us. The hussars should now be moved to the back. Should see about coming around the enemy. And the dragoons should be moved forward to guard against these units over here. Okay, now we've got some fire from this unit. Managed to kill a few out of these guys. The enemy behind the wall is not firing. They're just sitting there. Are they gonna wait to the very last moment to fire? The first rank has stood up. Are they preparing to fire? No, they're not firing. My grenadiers are overrunning them. Let's get the fusiliers in line. Let's tell the 12-pounder to hold fire. No, actually target that unit. And before these guys can get into formation, while they're spread out like this, we'll have the hussars charge down from the hill and attack them and split their unit in two, leaving a lot of them actually open to fire from this unit, and they broke. I'll order the hussars to follow. The grenadiers manage to defeat the enemy and push them back. So they're sending these guys over now to try and stop us. But it's way too late for that now. Let's advance the infantry. Keep the hussars going over there. Let's focus the artillery on the units over there. Let's leave the dragoons a little bit off to the side. The grenadiers are not close enough to fire at the guys at the front. Well, now they were. Oh, the enemy is trying to run through this unit. And they're all getting bayoneted. We're gonna get hussars to come in from behind. Okay, now I do actually kind of need to turn this unit to face these guys. How's it going for the grenadiers? It's going just fine. And now with these two units, this one right in the flank, it's going to be able to inflict quite a bit of damage. If it weren't for the fact that they weren't reloaded, single one of them. Good shot. Let's follow up that shot with a charge. And then have the hussars come in from the back. And the enemy is retreating. I can kind of see what that guy meant with... Oh, they're not actually retreating as of yet. Grenadiers will advance. With the music kind of being out of sync with what's actually going on the battlefield. Because right now it definitely doesn't sound like there's a bayonet charge going on and a massive melee. A guy just got strangled, another one just got skewered. The hussars managed to send that one away, but then they got stuck on the other unit. So we'll retreat rather than get stuck in a prolonged fight. The dragoons managed to get a pretty good charge off, and this unit is wavering. However, they're holding. Well, now they went steady instead. We'll retreat the dragoons. That charge, unfortunately, was a failure. March up next to that one. There's no point in chasing the rest of them. Get you here as well. Preparing then for a mass charge across the field to sweep away all the enemies. And then a second go for the dragoons to come at the enemy, attack them in the flank, send them away. We're losing a lot of men out of this unit because they're not firing back. Go on. Which is not great. We've almost lost 100 men out of this unit through this battle. You are free to fire, not everyone has to be reloaded, you know? Looks like these guys are firing on someone else now. Here we go. So now these guys are starting to take quite a bit of casualties. Let's have the dragoons come in over here. And, oh, we can't wait for these guys because they're stupid. And then the charge goes in. And the Poles will be driven from the field. Artillery will now hold fire. And we'll get the rest of the armed citizenry out of the way. Forced to flee. They're getting sandwiched over here with the dragoons and the musketeers coming in from either side. And it's a complete rout. The enemy is now in full retreat. We'll, I don't actually need to chase them down because it's a town battle. They'll all die anyways and be distributed to the men. This unit suffered heavily throughout the battle. So almost half of the unit became casualties. But we were victorious, and that's the main point. And with this battle, Poland-Lithuania is no more. We lost 513 men compared to the enemy, which lost everything. Highest killers goes to, or highest amount of kills goes to the Grenadiers. Actually a split first place between the Grenadiers and the Hussars. Highest losses goes to one of the Musketeer battalions, which deployed 410, lost 156. But maybe more important is the one that started with 300 men and lost about half of those. Almost half. A lot of chevrons being gained, especially for the dragoons, which went from 2 to 5, or is that 6? I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, we've got victory. So we captured the Lithuanian part of Poland-Lithuania, and they're now destroyed. We are in total control. The problem is, of course, keeping control, because the area is very unhappy. First and foremost, this school will not be needed in this region. We can build a church there instead, and this Jesuit college will definitely not be needed. So we'll burn that as well. The good thing about all of this is the smaller force of enemies that were over here will be forced to disband, so it means that I can burn this place as well and start converting the province. There's not a lot of religious unhappiness, but it's always good to get rid of it. So now it's going to be a lot about just consolidating what we took over, and then possibly seeing about how we're going to attack Kurland, which is actually a... Oh, it's... You know what? It's even a more productive region in terms of wealth than any of these regions. So the Warsaw region gives me 3,700 in wealth, a tax of 1,100, and this one is about 3,000 in wealth, gives me about 900. This one has a wealth of 5,000. Don't know what that would bring in income, but a lot. And they're also Protestant, which is great. They've got a lot of clamor for reform, but I guess that's because they've got schools. For some reason this mod puts schools everywhere, or I guess every nation gets one, and all the big one gets 2. Which I guess we need, since there's a lot of turns on these different technologies, but they are late game technologies. Let's see, maybe I can get something out of this one before we burn it. Standardized calibration or something. Yes, I think we'll end turn once, just to see what happens if Kurland mobilize more troops, if they go ahead to attack us or anything. And kind of want to see if when the rebellion breaks out, see what kind of troops they're going to bring against us. If it's going to be something that we might have difficulty actually fighting. Or, you know, whatever could happen here. So, let's go ahead and do that. Trade agreement with Spain has been cancelled for some reason. This nation has pulled out of our carefully brokered trade agreement between you, although the next exact reason for this may be unclear. It would appear that at this occasion, diplomacy and politics have been obscured business of mutual benefit. Rebellion in Poland. The Polish are striking the drum of rebellion, and what are they bringing? Oh no, they've brought back the winged hussars! In their hour of need, the angels of war will return to avenge the loss of their kingdom. And Janissaries. Why not? That's an odd combination of troops to spawn against us. So we've got Janissaries, a lot of those Lancer units, or Light Dragoon. I thought I said Lancer, but it says Yasada Landon, not Lancer. Got some cannons. That's a pretty weird. They have the... Not that the fact that they would bring in... Yeah, it would be pretty strange in 1783 to bring in the Winged Hussars. But to match them with the Janissary unit. The Janissary unit's pretty good though. 55 accuracy. I wonder though, the Winged Hussars is definitely going to be pretty hard to beat them. Their melee attack is 16, and then charge bonus 30. Melee defense 22. Hussars can definitely not stand up to them. And my Cuirassier regiment, 9... We have 9 in attack. They had 16. 9 in charge. They had 30 in charge. Melee defense 10. They had 22. Plus they had 12 morale. That's actually going to be quite difficult to deal with. Only the general has 12. So even though it's a really small rebellious army, I thought it would be bigger. But it could prove difficult to deal with just because the Lancers, that Lancer charge is going to be hard to stop. I do think I'll be able to figure out a way to stop it, but not for this episode though. That will be the next one. So with this said, I'll leave you on this cliffhanger with the Polish winged hussars ready to avenge the loss of all Polish territory to Prussia. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this episode, and hopefully, I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye!